We have a huge NHL trade to discuss. The Bo Horvat trade rumors are coming to a close. He's now gone to the New York Islanders. We'll discuss the full trade package and what it means for both clubs coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a huge NHL trade. You could almost call this one a blockbuster deal between the Vancouver Canucks and the New York Islanders. The trade is as follows. We have Captain Bo Horvat, the Vancouver Canucks, of course, on an expiring contract, rumored to be looking around, probably upwards of $8-9 million or more in his next deal, depending UFA, has been traded to the New York Islanders. Of course, the Islanders have been looking for more scoring help, and this should help, and it's believed that they're not looking for a rental player here, so we'll see how this works out longer term. Going back to the Vancouver Canucks is Anthony Beauvillier, 25-year-old forward. He has this year and one more year remaining on his contract, making $4.15 million. So from a cap perspective, the Vancouver Canucks can obviously handle that with the Horvat contract going out. They also get 20-year-old top prospect Aatu Räty, who is a 2021 draft pick taken in the second round, 52nd overall. There was a point in his young career when he was projected to be either the top pick or the top, 3 to 5 picks in the 2021 draft. He obviously ran into, I guess, a few things that disappointed some scouts. His value dropped and he went going into second round instead, but still a very promising prospect. He's had NHL games this year on Long Island, and I do wonder if maybe Lou Lamoriello was doing that more as a showcase, because I know we've seen more prospects up at the big club than we probably projected this year between Räty and Dufour and Boldu and a few others. And maybe there was a bit of a showcasing going on for other teams to have a look at some of these guys to pull off a big trade. We've been waiting for Lou to pull the trigger here on a huge trade for some time to help this team out, and it kind of makes sense. Now the Canucks also get the 2023 first-round pick of the New York Islanders, but there is a condition attached to that, and then it's top 12 protected. So if for any reason the New York Islanders don't qualify for the playoffs and they end up in the lottery and it ends up in the top 12 selections, then it does not go to the Vancouver Canucks. The Islanders will retain that pick, and then the Canucks will get their pick from the subsequent year that follows. So obviously this is a pretty good return for Vancouver. They get a first-round pick, a promising prospect who can play center ice. So obviously, a potential Bo Horvat replacement. I think long-term, you might be able to say that Räty could probably play a similar game. It looks like he could be a solid two-way, reliable centerman who can produce offensively. So, not to say that they're going to play the exact same way, but I think they can accomplish a lot of the same things. And long-term for the organization in Vancouver, I think it'll be a good fit. And of course, they get Anthony Beauvillier, who's been a bit inconsistent, you could say, but he is, he's still 25 years old, so he's not, over the hill by any means. But he got into the NHL shortly after being drafted. He's had a lot of playoff experience that he's drawn, of course, with the Islanders. He's played a lot with Matthew Barzal. So obviously he scored some big playoff goals too. So even though he's not the most expensive or the most consistent, with Horvat gone, they still have some really high level, offensive players for him to gel with there. So we'll see how things work out. But that's a pretty good haul. You get an NHL roster player that can help now. You get a prospect who you can probably ease in. I mean, I'm not sure if Räty will go to the Canucks or go to the minors. I would think at the very least he'll get some NHL games with them this year. And then, of course, then they'll hopefully get a pretty solid prospect in the draft, depending on where that first-round pick ends up, for the New York Islanders. So, like I said, Lou Lamoriello is, obviously a mysterious GM. You don't get many, rumors and things leaking out about the Islanders. I will say this, though, Elliot Friedman on the latest 32 Thoughts podcast that came out this morning, as I was preparing for another news and rumor-based video that's going to go up on the channel this evening, which I haven't finished yet, thankfully, had talked about the Islanders maybe being on the Horvat radar today. But he said, as he mentioned in the podcast, it's hard to know what's going on Long Island sometimes. So, and he wasn't completely sure that it made perfect sense for them, but that they were certainly in the mix. And here we are. We have a trade. There was still a lot of speculation as well from Vancouver media that as the Canucks headed into the All-Star break, that Horvat may have played his last game as a Canuck, and that this deal could be consummated and done before they resume play after the All-Star break. So certainly very interesting that it finally gets done. Horvat had a real good run in the Canucks organization as their captain. Obviously, the interesting part about this as well is that Lou Lamoriello was actually connected to Horvat in another way as well. If you remember this, when Lou was still with the New Jersey Devils, he traded his first-round pick to the Vancouver Canucks for Corey Schneider, and that first-round pick was Bo Horvat. So he's traded Horvat away essentially before, and now he brings him in. Horvat should be a great fit there. I do wonder, though, long-term, what this means for their forward group on Long Island. Will it maybe... Well, because Brock Nelson typically is a center, maybe he goes to the wing, or do they maybe move Nelson either before the deadline or in the offseason? I do wonder what that dynamic means. I don't know where they're going to place Horvat, but Horvat and Barzal can definitely be your top 2 centers. You still have Pajot as your number 3 center. They certainly have some wingers that are obviously able to contribute there. They could probably use a little bit more help on the wings as they change the dynamic of this group up here a little bit as well. But I wonder what that means for a guy like Brock Nelson. We'll have to wait and see, both from a financial standpoint as well as just a roster construction standpoint. We'll see. Let me know your thoughts on this trade. Horvat is now a New York Islander, and the rumors are done because the deal is finally consummated. Let me know your thoughts on the trade down in the comment section. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. And, of course, stay tuned for another video based on all the other news of the day coming up here later this evening. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.